In today's video, I upgrade this into this. Let's take a look.
There are hobbyists among us, geniuses with the ability to play any game they want to. In 1978, a corporation known as The Interior isolated a young hobbyist named John and exploited his genius for their entertainment.
Then one day, their hobbyist ran away.
Well, let's take a look what I have here and go over the different parts so you can see what my design process was, what my thought was for this new top-down filming rig. I started off having a few goals in mind, and that was I still have to start my camera and zoom my camera manually. And every time I would, it would shake for a good little bit, and I would have to account for that and put a little bit of start and stop time in the video, and I would have to edit it all out. It was just really annoying. And then if I was ever to move around the room, it would also shake pretty well, and I wanted to try to get rid of that. The other thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to have it be a very smooth move to be able to move around because one of my goals for my top down is for game playthroughs and stuff like that. And I want to be able to slide the camera around and be able to move it all over the mat and have it be as smooth as possible. Additionally, I wanted this to be upgradable. I want to be able to start with something. I want to be able to upgrade the components, upgrade the parts, without having to completely start over. And when you have these kind of things, when I start with this one, well, once this one is no longer good enough, then you kind of go over to the next one. So it's a complete upgrade. I wanted to be able to upgrade part by part. So I started off with a single pull. Now these pulls are monitor computer desk pulls by a company called WALI. One of the great things about these pulls is that the brackets that they use come with everything you need to be able to clamp it to the edge, or if you have a hole in your desk, to be able to have this, go through that hole. So if you were to make your own desk or have a desk with a hole in it, you could use these and have a insanely secure system. Now, my original plan was to have one pull. So I got the first pull, and I got the one that was a single shaft with the single monitor, because this is the only way that I could find this single monitor, no arm mount. And I wanted that one so I could put a monitor on there to have it hooked to the camera so I could have it right in front of me with a very low profile. That's what I liked. That's what I wanted. I knew I needed this system to be pretty tall. So I got the 3-pull extension on it. Now, that means the pull here that came with it, I didn't use. What I wasn't expecting, and I will go over the pulls in more detail later, was that how different all the pulls really were and how I was hoping that they could kind of be interchangeable potentially, which wound up not being the case. But we will go over that, and I will show you all the different pulls from the single, the double, and the triple. The next part that I wanted was the double arm, because originally I had this again, which is the one pull, and I was going to have one slider, and these arms here where I have it attached, we're just going to attach to the one slider. So I needed the extended pulls, which is what I have here. So these ones, as you can see, have 3 arms. Most of their pulls only have the 2. Well, as I was building this rig, I came to the conclusion that, again, stability was something that I really, really wanted. So I went with upgrading the whole model to a 3-pole system. But once again, if you wanted, you could very easily go with a 4-pole system. And instead of having a back pole, you would have one on either side. And so then you would just have, like right here, where I now have this one arm connected to this one slider, you would have another, pole right here connected to the one. But again, since I had this nice, extended arm right here, this 3-pole tripod type method seemed to work just fine. Because what I decided that I wanted to do was I didn't want my camera to just be able to go across the X axis, but I wanted it to be able to go X and Y. So by having 2 sliders, one for each side, and then a third slider in the center, I now, let's move that, unscrew this, I can very smoothly move my camera all around, so forth and so on. The other thing that I found extremely useful was this right here. So when I was looking at this for the additional poles, they have tons of options. And so the ones that I decided to go with was the one that has the laptop tray, which also then had a monitor arm. So now this way I can use this to put like a script on. I can put, other reference materials. I could put rules on here. I could put, whatever it is. So now I have that right here. So while I'm filming, I can have my script or whatever that I need right there. This is also going to give me some great potential for future upgrades, which again, we will talk about a little later. Finally, for my final pull, I didn't really need anything special. There was no other specialty things that I wanted. So I just got just your normal pull with a single arm. That left me the need of just the single arm. So what I wound up having to buy for this rig was 3 pulls, each one having the upgrade, the extra tall pull kit, the double arm, and then one additional arm. Here we can see it. Right now, lighting wise, I just have the 2 lights and I just put them oppositely facing. But I have done everything where I've extended the holes and got them ready so I could in the future get 2 more lights so I can have a light on all 4 corners. Again, that was one of my keys, is that the system is extremely upgradable. Something else that I'm sure a lot of you eagle-eyed sleuths have noticed is that I have these hooks right here. Now, these hooks are just tripod extension hooks. One of the main purposes of these is they make tripod stability arms. And they come with one of these hooks and then just a screw on the other end. And one of the main designs of that is that you can put these stability arms on your tripod. It's just kind of like a telescoping shaft. You then attach the other end to a slider, either on the back rig of a slider. Of course, this is probably where you're going to have your tripod mounted. But then you could have your stability arms on the ends to, secure that slider. Well, you can also just buy the hooks separately, and that's what I bought here, because what I want them for is I'm going to put the screw here and I will be attaching a power supply for everything. So that way I have a power supply to tire up, and also to help with that cord management. But technically, even with this set, if you find that you want to upgrade it, if you think you need to make it even a little more secure, you could do something like that and get those stability arms, attach them here to the pole and go up. Because notice this is, this one right here is stationary. So your arm could come up, attach into here, and even make the slider rig even more secure. That security, stability is probably going to come into focus even more so, again, when I get into some of the upgrades and some of that potential, and we will get into that in a minute. Well, I am working on my new filming rig to have a very secure top-down view. I wanted to stop for a moment and show you guys the poles that came with the different kits that I got, so you can see the different options, see what so that there are differences here. So if you decide to build this kit or this setup, you might be able to have a better understanding of what's going on and what you might be able to do to try to save yourself a little money. The first thing that I did was bought a single monitor mount, and that is this one, because I wanted just the single head like that. And with the single mount, that was the only way you could get it, because I want that to be as small of a footprint as possible. So on the back corner or on the back pole, I have my monitor set up. So that came with a single pole. It connects on the bottom like all of the others initially, but its top has a top cap. And this is on here. There's no way of like taking this off and changing it or whatever. So I have this one. These braces can be purchased secondhand, or not secondhand, but solo. So potentially I can later come back and use these extra poles that I got and get extra braces if I wanted a separate pole just to have maybe a mic on, or if I wanted a light somewhere special or something like that. So it's not going to be a potential complete waste, but originally I was hoping that I would be able to get my add-on pack and potentially just take one of these and add it to this to make this a double. But because the way these are made, you cannot do that. With the other two poles that I got, just because they really weren't that much more expensive, and again, I'm trying to think in the long term where I might upgrade and buy additional mounts, and because I would want at minimum a 2 riser for doing things like an extra light or a second a solo camera that's going to go, just for a second view or something like that. And again, once you get into your full mount with the single arm, once you get to the single pole or the double pole, there really wasn't that big of a difference price-wise. So for my 2, I got the double pole. Now I wanted mine to be pretty high up off the table, so I have lots of room, so I got the pole extensions. So I'm not using any of these. So I have a single 2 sets of the double left over because I purchased 3 of these. Now, one thing that you can see here is there is a lot of similarity between the 3 pole set and the double. The double again has the base, which is screws on to here. So it screws on to right there, and then it has the threads, and as you can see, the threads for the top with the, there you go, the top hole. The 3 set has those 2 exact poles, but it has this center pole with the screw at the bottom and the threaded at the top. So you can screw this into here and then this into here. As far as I know, there is no way to just buy this center pull. However, you could always call WALI and talk to customer service and find out, say, hey, I got 2 of these. I just want to, upgrade it just a little to see if maybe they can sell just this one. But in all the forms that I've seen, there's no way to just buy this. But again, calling the company up, you might be able to save yourself a little money and try to buy just the extra long pull mounts, and then see if you can just buy this single pull riser to be able to turn the double into a triple. Now, like most kits, whether you're talking about computer monitor rigs like what I have going on here, or whether you're talking about furniture kits, you will always have tons of these little part bags. One of the beautiful things here with the WALI system that I have chosen that I didn't foresee coming, that wound up being very useful, is their numbering or lettering system. When it comes to all these bags, they are all identical. So it doesn't matter which of the kits you get, the bags will be labeled the same. So the G here, which I believe was part of the screws for the backing, for the mount, for the clamp that clamps onto the table, this G is the same for here, this little G, as it was for here and for this kit, and so forth and so on. So if you do wind up with lots of these and you start small with maybe just one of the pull, just one of the kits, and then later decide you do want to upgrade to a 3 or 4 pull system, and you have one of these bags, you're like, oh, but wait a minute, which parts did I use? Well, the beauty of it is if you get that new bag or those new instructions, they will have like parts. You can kind of still have an idea of what each of the parts are going to be used for. That was very handy, very useful, that I found when putting everything together. Additionally, with this kit, for me, I used the clamp on, but they also came with the parts. So if you have a desk with the hole in it, that you can put you can switch to that system as well, or if you are making your own desk, rather than like here, I just use a coffee table, one of my old coffee tables, which is very sturdy, low to the ground, works for me. But if you were to make up your own desk, whatever, and actually drill holes and make things a little more permanent, you can do that very easily. They give you the parts applied within the kits. One of the things you will wind up finding is you will wind up with a ton of extra Allen wrenches. Yeah, it's all said and good. But there it is. That's one of the things I wound up. I now have a huge bag of tons of very similar Allen wrenches, so I don't ever have to worry about losing them. But once again, these like part numbers really came in handy as I was going through things and taking the bags out, working on one part, and then coming back and being like, oh no, I've mixed up my bags of which one came with the slim monitor kit or with the laptop tray kit that I got, so forth and so on. It didn't matter because when I was able to go into the instructions, I was able to just find on any of them. It doesn't matter if it said, hey, I need an F. F is going to be the same in any bag, so I could basically get that F from any of the bags. It really wound up putting the whole thing together and setting everything up extremely easy.
So one question you might be asking is, if I had to buy a lot of this separately, originally the double extended arms and the extra long poles, why not piecemeal the whole thing and buy everything separately? Why buy a kit? Because once again, one of the things that I mentioned is that these mounts you can buy separately. Well, the main reason is I wanted this short monitor support so I can have a very compact monitor add-on so I could see what I am filming. And this was only available in one of those
kits. Additionally, I found that once I added in the cost of this, the cost of the 3 poles, and then the arm separately, just the arm that I wanted, it really wasn't that much more expensive than buying the kit with the arm that I wanted and the pole. And this gave me extras. It gave me the poles that came with the kit so I could later upgrade or do other things if I really wanted to. So that just couple dollar increase in costs by going kit plus extenders really wound up not being that big of an issue for me. Now, one of the best parts of this whole rig is that there are very few modifications that you need to do to the overall structure and to the parts that come in. Because remember, this was designed for computers and computer monitors, not for cameras. One of the main things that I had to do was with these metal plates that just go on the arms of the rig, and that was to enlarge these holes to the 1/4 inch that we need for most of my camera stuff. The way that I did this was with a step drill bit. This is nice because you can slowly get larger and larger into your hole. You can see where it is and you kind of know where you're going down. However, if you need to create a hole from scratch, you don't want to use these from your scratch holes. You will want to get some metal drill bits for doing the holes just in general. Because like for mine, to do with the double sliders, I used one of the base holes, so I would use my step bit and enlarge this one, and then I made a template for the size of the slider, and I then drilled a brand new hole to where it belonged, right down here. Then that allowed me to attach my slider. Additionally, I drilled an enlarged hole here, so that way I have my light. So here on my rig, we have one of these. So there's 4 of these total, in the 4 corners. So the slider would be attached here, and then the light here, and then the exact opposite on this one, where it'd be the slider here with its light hole there, and then of course same thing on the other sides. Now, one thing you will want to do is make your life a whole lot simpler and get yourself some 3-in-1 oil. Put the oil down, and the way that I did it is you want to go super slow. You just put your oil down there, just use slow, drill your hole, take it off eventually, rub off all of the metal debris that's going to be going on here, rub that off with some paper towel or whatever, add a little more oil, and just go, like I said, slow and steady to build up your holes so you have nice, clean holes. There are lots of other options though. One of the other things you can do is you can take, here I have one of my leftover poles that I'm currently not yet using, but you can take off this head. That leaves you with this opening. Again, you can extend that hole right there, and then stick your camera screw up, and then put whatever you want on there. I know of some people, like in my inspiration video, he then put a camera tripod extender here, then with the head to have a camera that way for a more heads-on camera view, and I could see that working perfectly if that is the situation you want. And the beauty of this is because you have the poles here, it is going to be a very secure, very sturdy rig with very little wobble. So there, I like that a lot. The other thing you're going to want to make sure you do, or that I did, is I got some lock nut washers. So I would put my lock nut washer right here, and then I would screw it up, for the lights. So that is what I would do. The You see me keep pointing to these. These are the camera screws that I got. I like these because they had this little D ring right here for easy, so I could easily screw that on and get a nice tight screw. Another advantage to this system is with cable management. Most of the time when you're dealing with cable management, you will get a whole bunch of these, and they are just the Velcro reusable twist ties in a sense, or just Velcro ties, reusable Velcro ties. And these still come in handy with this, but one of the beauties is, since this is a set designed for monitors and for computer uses, it comes with a lot of built-in cable management. We have 2 of them that come with the kits. The first one is for the riser pulls, so this would just attaches into the pole, and then you run your cable up through here. Again, keeping everything nice and tight and neat and tidy. This one right here is for the arms. It can be attached upwards, topwards, however you want, whichever way suits you best. You can then just attach this to the arm and then run your cables through. This is super awesome for all of that cable management, and it all comes with the kits that you're getting, so there's not a lot of additional purchases that you need to make. So first off, is there anything I would do different in my rig setup? If I would have known from the beginning that I was going with this tripod or 3-pull system rather than a single tripod, and that unfortunately for me is yes. The main thing that I would have done different is these extended arms, being that I am only going here, I'm not really going that far. I don't need all of this. I probably could have gotten away with this with just the regular arm. So just the pull, because this extended arm, they don't come in a kit, but they do have a double arm just with the, double pull. That probably would have been enough. But again, here looking at this, especially with the light on, it's a toss-up of whether or not I would have actually needed, these extended arms. I probably would have at least tried with the regular arms and see if that would have worked. And if I needed to send those back, I would have. But that may have been the only change that I would have done. And being that then I would have not had to buy this extension, it would have saved me a little bit. Other than that, I am fairly happy with what I have designed and the kit that I have built here. So what kind of upgrades would I be interested in doing? Because again, that was one of my keys, is potential upgrades. And one of the first is to be able to have a motorized sliders. These ones right here that I got are, just the simplest bottom of the line, just to be able to move everything around. But I would be interested in trying to upgrade at least this one right here to start off with as a motorized slider. The issues that's going to come into that is that the slider on this axis compared to this one, I would want to make sure that they can move independently. So basically when I am moving this direction, this one doesn't also move. So I'd want to make sure that either the motorized sliders work on separate frequencies, because I'd want those to be wireless, of course, or that they have, where you can change the frequency or something along those lines, or maybe have like an app controlled or something. The 2 slides on the left and right, these could work incongruent. In fact, you probably would want that, so when one moves, the other moves. But you wouldn't want the center to move along with that. Next comes with the laptop tray right here. This, to me, has a ton of potential. And some of the biggest that I could see is to get another pull off of here to have and add an additional camera face down for close-up shots for components, or if I was to put like a green mat on here to be able to do green screen items where I might put a component here and be able to overlay it on what I have in the main camera, that kind of a thing. Additionally, since I now have so many extra of these pulls, I can very easily add additional pulls, because you can buy these clamps separately. So if I ever wanted to add another, just say a short pull in one of the other corners for maybe if I wanted to put a mic there off of the main rig, because of course I could easily get more of these clamps and have a mic off of the rig, or something along those lines. But I could have additional pulls for if I wanted to have a camera facing me, or if I wanted to have a second, third, fourth, whatever cameras for different angles down onto the playing field. It would be very easy to either add additional single pulls or even additional arms off of the tripod pull system here to do that.